hired to work with this horse because he was hard to halter, but I also found that he was hard to lead. This is when I was trying to take his halter off and he was shoving into me. But you'll see the owners work with the horse first here. So I just arrive and I ask the owner to lead the horse. So do you notice how he's looking at the horse? This is what most people do, and they're holding
And how old is
he's a
he?
2-year-old stud, holding up tight,
Can you turn
very
him to the
close to the
right at
halter
all?
with the chain over the nose. So, and turn to the right, his hand is into the horse's neck, underneath the neck. So you see how unruly the
He's a
horse
little
is
mousy.
when being led this way, and this is the way he's been led for 2 years.
All right,
So
how
when
about
I
back
take
up?
over, you can see the change immediately. Here he's going to ask him to back up, pulling on the halter, pulls the horse into you. So here's me just taking over right away. And you notice the loose line. So again, many people think the tight, clenched up under the chin or very close to the nose equals more control. It does not. So the horse can run off, but I just correct him, back him up, correct him, back him up. But look at the difference in him with the loose line and turning to the right. I don't want to touch his body. There I'm asking him to back up. I suggest by wiggling that rope and pulsing the stick underneath his nose. There he's shoving his shoulder into me. And again, when you have them choked up tight, they cannot help but to crowd you. They can't help but be on top of you. So he's going to do that because it's a muscle memory. He would not be allowed to crowd another horse and touch his body into the other horse's body. I look to the right, ask him to turn to the right. If he goes ahead, I correct him. And if, again, he shoulders in, I use the rubber end of the bat of my driving whip that I have there, the rubber end into his shoulder for crowding me. He's not allowed to touch me. He's not allowed to come into my space. So I'm looking where I'm going. He wants to look at something. I'm looking where I'm going, not letting him forge ahead, asking him to back up and get off that halter. I want him somewhat like you're heeling a dog. I walk, you walk. I stop, you stop. And you see that we can't blame him for crowding because that's all he's ever known. But once he gets the idea, he's able to stop on a loose line or with just a suggestion of me halting instead of me pulling back on his face, which causes the horse to come into your space. I look where my turn is, and he starts to understand that he has to yield to my feet. This is why I always do turns to the right. You'll rarely see me going left with any horse. Turning to the right makes the horse's feet yield to your feet, as he should. And he's doing really nicely here. But going forward, you're going to see how hard he is to get a halter on. Look to my turn. I'll use the pinchers on my right hand and just throw a pinch at him to simulate a horse biting him. And then they understand that they're to turn out of your space. And they get a lot more respectful. Asking him to back up. And the second time, he picks it up no problem. So very quick learning. And my first time ever working with this horse. I never worked with him again because I was hired just to get the halter on. So you see with this leather halter, by taking it apart at the crown piece, instead of the snap on the side, it was much easier to get that horse, scoop his nose up to get his head in that halter. Same thing with the rope halter. It's a lot easier to put that crown piece behind the pole, behind the ears, initially to set yourself up for success, because you're going to see how difficult it is for me to put this halter on when I try to do it by undoing the brass snap on the cheek piece. The rope over the pole, I'm holding pressure with my right hand and with my left hand. And when he drops his head, even incrementally, he gets a release of pressure. Sometimes I put my hand on the nose. They can break your nose by throwing that head into you because they don't want their ears touched or behind their pole touched. And this guy's only 2 years old, and he can get really tall. So the rope over the pole helps you maintain that contact when you're adding steady pressure. So even though he's high-headed here, I'm maintaining the contact with the right hand and the rope behind his ears, and then releasing pressure when he drops his head. If it was my horse, one obviously wouldn't have this problem, but if it was my horse in the beginning, I would do it the easy way. Why not set yourself up for success and do it by undoing the strap on the pole? So, but we got really far, and we got to where I could show the owners how to do it and had them do it. Just waiting. Sometimes I'll use pressure with my right hand up behind their ears, but again, when they're tall, it's hard to maintain that. So, not really happy with that, but it was better than they'd ever been able to do before.